Simon Curtis, can you describe the film in your own words?
Well, it's the story of Maria Altmann, who was a woman who, in her 20s, was forced to leave Vienna when the Nazis arrived and destroyed the Jewish community, who then emigrates to the United States, living in California. And when she's in her 80s, she decides to go after the painting, The Famous Woman in Gold by Klimt, that was painted of her aunt and is now one of the world's most famous paintings, described as the Mona Lisa of Austria. And she decides to go after the Austrian government to get the painting back. And that's really our story. And Helen Mirren plays Maria, and she recruits a young lawyer played by Ryan Reynolds, and together they go on this journey to try and reclaim the painting.
There's very much an Erin Brokovich element to this story, in that she is fighting the power. She is fighting bureaucracy.
Yes, that's right. It's a kind of multi-layered film because in one way it's an odd couple, the older woman and the younger man going on this journey. There's also a courtroom drama element, but we also have very emotional flashbacks to the past where Maria, in her youth, played by the great Tatiana Maslany, we follow her in her youth, being forced to flee her family and her country.
Thematically, it's such a rich film. What would you identify as the main themes in the movie?
I'd say it's a film about memory, and it's a film about urging us not to forget some of the things that happened quite recently that are very important to remember as we proceed in this troubled century we're now living in. There was a feeling around 2000 that, a lot of the troubles of the last century were behind us, but, with 9/11, suddenly everything very cruelly came to the forefront again. And Ryan's character, Randy, is a sort of young American guy who isn't that aware of what his family had gone through to get him where he is now. And we see him learn the importance and the value of his family's experiences.
Have you sent a thank you letter to George Clooney yet for setting the groundwork for your film with Monuments Men?
I have corresponded with him, actually, but I enjoyed that film very much, and it was funny that these two very different films were tackling a similar subject, in a sense.
I thought it was a beautiful example of how very different films can complement each other in unexpected ways. Did you know about Clooney's movie?
I didn't, but no, we certainly were already deep into developing this film when I heard about The Monuments Men, but I saw it before we started filming. And in fact, Eustace, who plays the Austrian lawyer, was in that film. He was Kate Blanchett's boss in that early sequence. There was a lovely connection there.
This film feels very much like a finely directed movie. There are a lot of subtle beats, delicate shifts of mood, and emotional cadences. Did the film come out exactly as you had wanted?
Well, it was a wonderful shoot. Everyone was very passionate about the subject, but I remember someone saying to me, how do you feel about the edit? And I said, but it's going to be all about how the past and present interconnect, and we won't really know how that plays till we're doing it. So that was, we filmed quite a few scenes that we cut actually before you saw it. So I can't really remember what I thought before, because it becomes, someone said to me very brilliantly, there's a script version of a film, there's the shoot version of a film, and then there's the edit version of a film, and that each version becomes your version, if that makes sense.
You've got Helen Mirren and Ryan Reynolds at the centre of your film. As actors, they seem to come from different worlds. Was it hard to blend them together in the same frame?
No, because they really adored each other, and that brings a lot of the warmth and the humour to the film. Physically, he's much taller than her, so that was something I had to think about. But we had a very brilliant Australian DP, actually, Ross Emery, who was a great partner for me in making this film, and I would, credit him with I think it's a very beautiful film to look at, and I would credit him very much with that. We filmed in London, in Vienna, and Los Angeles, and we filmed. I say about 20% of the film is in German in the past, and I was very keen to play those scenes in German, not sort of English with a stupid German accent. And in fact, they felt like doing different films, really, because very seldom did we do those scenes on the same day as the more modern scenes, and I don't speak German, so it was like a sort of different film for a while when we were doing those scenes.
The film has done very well in the United States, hasn't it?
Yes, it has, I'm pleased to say.
Can you tell me a bit about that and whether you were surprised people responded so well?
It was one of those films where, in the modern world, we test the film quite a lot, so you get a real sense of what people are thinking of the film. And it's always, as they say, played very well. It's been great to hear laughter and actually a fair amount of sobbing during the film. But some of, we had quite a mixed response in the press, but the word of mouth and the audience response has been so strong. I think that's what's turned it into a box office success. So I'm very pleased with that. Very, very pleased with that. I would say that I'm disappointed with some of the press reaction to Woman in Gold because, like it or not, it's a film about something that, is trying to make you think, connecting with quite big themes in all our lives. And, a lot of films aren't really about anything anymore.
Absolutely.
And I think it's important to support those films that are enjoyment and entertainment, but are also about something.
I really enjoyed Women in Gold. However, it was the first film that I saw after seeing the new Avengers movie, so my mind might have been so hungry for something resembling a story that I might have overreacted in favour of it. Simon, are you conscious of films such as yours providing a real counter-programming role to these fist-in-the-face blockbusters that virtually have no content?
Well, I think that's one of the reasons the British films are so in demand in a way. I'm not saying those sort of films aren't made in Australia and other places, but there does seem to be a gap in the market that the British film industry is filling because the studios are making so small a range of films, if you know what I mean. And they're after the big tentpole films, and so I think there's a reason that the Stephen Hawking film or the Alan Turing film and so on, there's a lot of interest in them because there aren't a lot of films like that being made elsewhere.
You have worked extensively in TV, so when you look at your CV, it seems that your move into feature films is like a natural progression. But is that actually the case?
Well, I feel I've gone in the wrong direction because everyone sane seems to have gone from film to television these days.
With your first film, My Week with Marilyn, what was it like directing another director in Kenneth Branagh?
Well, I mean, I was directing a director, playing a director as well, don't forget. I think Ken is so expert. He's made so many films. He knows. He's so astute about everybody on a set, on both sides of the camera. I felt really lucky to have him playing that part and felt very supported by him. And he made that film better than if I hadn't had him, if that makes sense.
Now, I got to tell you, I don't normally ask people questions about their spouses, but you happen to be married to Elizabeth McGovern, who is a terrific actress, especially for some of the work she did back in the 1980s. Ordinary People, She's Having a Baby, Ragtime, Once Upon a Time in America, Lovesick, The Handmaid's Tale. Do you ever pinch yourself, step back, and go, my God, my wife is awesome?
I do think that, yes. And we went recently to a revival screening of Once Upon a Time in America, and I was sitting between her and the leading man of that film, and I was thinking, if in 1980, when I'd seen that film, I could have projected to that moment in the future, I would have had a heart attack on the spot.